Buckingham Palace is not only one of the most popular landmarks in the world, it is also the official residence of the British Monarch and represents how deep Great Britain's culture is and just how much history the palace holds. Shall we take a look at the $5 billion Buckingham Palace together? Is that yes, you say? Well, let's go! Buckingham Palace dates as far back as the 17th century. The original site of the huge palace was a marshy land along the Tyburn River, which was owned by a number of nobles. In 1703, John Sheffield, who was the first Duke of Buckingham, built a townhouse on the land which was called Buckingham House at the time. By 1761, King George III bought the Buckingham House for Queen Charlotte and their children before ordering the renovation and was called the Queen's House. This was where the Queen resided and took guests. By 1820, King George IV got the house by inheritance and changed it into a grand palace before it came into the possession of Queen Victoria in 1837, who became the first monarch to use Buckingham Palace as her official residence. The palace was too small to accommodate her family, so she added another wing and moved the Marble Arch to Hyde Park, replacing it with a new gatehouse. So much has changed with the palace since then, and as of 2023, Buckingham Palace has had some specific renovations and additions done and now has 775 rooms. The rooms include 19 staterooms, 92 offices, 52 royal and guest bedrooms, 188 staff bedrooms, and 78 bathrooms. Some of the other rooms include the ballroom, the cinema, a chapel, a swimming pool, a post office, picture gallery, drawing room, the guard room, among many others. The Buckingham Garden is also there and is the largest private garden in all of London. It is no surprise that Buckingham Palace is worth a staggering $5 billion. The doors of the palace are usually open to the public from July to October, so if you plan to see for yourself, well, that's the best time to go. But in the meantime, let us take you on a trip where we learn some of the most fascinating stories, as well as the expensive things in the palace. The 2-penny blue Mauritius stamp is the rarest postage which was issued by the British colony of Mauritius in 1847. This postage stamp is part of the Royal Philatelic Collection, which Queen Elizabeth also inherited. The stamp featured the portrait of Queen Victoria and was designed by William Lyon. It was mostly used to invite people to the nobles' balls, and by 1901, it had become so rare that even King George V acquired one at an auction for the price it is now equivalent to £170,000, making the 2-penny blue the most expensive auction stamp. Today, there are only 26 of these postage stamps left, and they are all very well guided. Imagine owning a stamp worth £2 million. Another interesting piece of history is the mosaic Fabergé egg, which is the most iconic piece of Buckingham's Palace Fabergé collection, and it was created by Russian jeweler Peter Carl Fabergé in 1914 and commissioned by Sir Nicholas II as a gift for his wife, Tsarina Alexandra Fyodorovna. The egg is made of platinum and gold and separates into 5 panels, which are demarcated with diamond and gold belts. On the panels, there are flowers made of rubies, sapphires, and topaz. On top of the egg is a moonstone with the year of commission, and inside is a removable gold frame with the faces of the Tsar's children. The egg was sold to King George V and Queen Mary for £250 in 1933. It was a highlight of the Fabergé collection and was on display from July to October 2011. The art collection at Buckingham Palace has one of the most extensive art collections in the world. The art collection's totals at 1 million pieces and is extremely diverse in nature. The collection includes 7,000 paintings, 150,000 works on paper, 30,000 watercolors and drawings, 450,000 photographs, as well as close to 750,000 art pieces that aren't drawings. They include tapestries, furniture, ceramics, textiles, carriage, weaponry, clocks, musical instruments, manuscripts, books, and sculptures that date as far back as the 16th century. The Royal Collection Trust manages the entire collection, and regarding the net worth of this massive collection, it is difficult, if not almost impossible, to determine the worth. However, there have been suggestions that it is worth £10 billion or more. Close to 3,000 pieces of this collection are on loan to museums worldwide, and some of the others are always in rotation. Now that is a lot of money, and we're not surprised. What would be surprising is you watching the video this far and not being a subscriber. So what are you waiting for? The jewelry collection is extensive, and for good reason too, because why wouldn't the monarch wear crowns and tiaras among other accessories? Some of the pieces in the collection have been passed down from generations and reflect just how rich the history of Great Britain is. The engagement ring of Queen Elizabeth and her tiara was passed down from generation to generation, and a lot of the others were gifted by other royal families in the world. She commissioned some of them as well, and the collection boasts of one-of-a-kind accessories you wouldn't find anywhere else. The imperial state crown is the most important piece and has been worn by monarchs since the 16th century. The current piece was designed in 1933 and is worn by a new monarch during coronation. It was also worn during state occasions like the state opening of Parliament. The crown has 2,868 diamonds, 17 sapphires, 11 emeralds, and 5 rubies, and 273 pearls, and it weighs 2.3 pounds. It is probably worth around 5 billion pounds, but there has not been any attempts to check its worth. Heavy lies the head that wears the crown indeed. The jewelry collection of Queen Elizabeth has over 300 pieces, including 98 brooches, 46 necklaces, 37 bracelets, 34 pairs of earrings, 20 royal tiaras, 15 rings, 12 timepieces, and 5 pendants. Another interesting piece of history are Queen Victoria's wedding dresses. The dress was made with heavy silk and was handmade in Devon, England. The wreath the Queen wore measured 18 feet and was carried by her bridesmaids. The reason the dress was so iconic at the time was because it was innovative and different from the wedding dresses of the time. She opted for a cream-colored dress as opposed to the brightly colored dresses of the time. After that, wedding dresses became white, and Queen Victoria has been credited for making white wedding dresses a norm. The dress has become a valuable antique to the royal family and is on display in the Buckingham Palace. The Eardley Norton's astronomical clock was the most famous piece of British watchmaker Eardley Norton. The astronomical clock was given to King George III, who was a huge fan of horology and is now kept in the palace's library. The clock has 4 different sides which show time and astronomy in unique ways. The first dial shows the time of day and night, the 24-hour clock, and the second captures the sun's journey across the sky, while the third simultaneously keeps track of time in 30 different locations and has a landscape that rises in the winter and lowers in the summer so we can tell time precisely. The last dial is a lunette that records the date and the month. Timeless piece, for real. Get it? When we're talking about huge and elegantly made gardens in the world, the Buckingham Palace's garden makes the star cast. The garden is located in the middle of London and is the biggest walled garden in London and spans 16 hectares of land. The garden dates back to the 17th century, where King James I established a garden to cultivate mulberries to rear silkworms at the time. However, it failed because the mulberry that was chosen was wrong. Now the garden has close to 45 mulberry tree varieties, and it has now become the national collection of mulberries. The garden was acquired in 1761 when King George III gave his wife, Queen Charlotte, Buckingham Palace as a private residence for her and their children. The garden had a collection of exotic animals, including an elephant and zebras. The garden was then expanded to include a lake commissioned by King George IV. Now it has a tennis court, 325 wild plant species, 30 species of breeding birds, including the rare ones like the sandpiper, the sedge warbler, and the lesser whitethroat. It also has close to 1,000 diverse trees. The garden is often used for occasions and is known for its popular garden parties, which can have up to 24,000 guests in attendance. There are concerts, receptions, and picnics that happen in the garden, and it sometimes is open to the public from the period of July to October each year. Chandeliers are not strangers to the decor of the palace either, as it boasts of close to 800 diverse designs, and they're put in the 19 staterooms, 52 guest bedrooms, 188 staff bedrooms, and bathrooms. They are made from crystals, glass, and pearls, and reflect different eras. Chandeliers can be traced back to the reign of King George IV, who was known as being an avid lover of the arts and design. The throne room has 7 chandeliers that give off light equivalent to 3,000 candles. They require maintenance and a lot of manpower due to their massive size and fragility of some. The total worth of the chandeliers at Buckingham Palace is estimated at hundreds of millions of dollars. Queen Victoria's gold piano was designed by Pierre and is a one-of-a-kind grand piano. The estimate's around 180,000 pounds, and it was made for Queen Victoria in 1856. She and her husband played duets often on this piano. The decorations and design on the grand piano demonstrate ingenious artistry by miniature painter Francois Theodore Rouchard. Another worthy mention is the late Queen's corgis, which were given to the late Queen by her parents. The Queen loved corgis and owned about 30 of them throughout her lifetime. They became popular, and one of the most popular corgis was is Susan, who was gifted to the late Queen on her 18th birthday. Royal or not, dogs are definitely friends to everyone. Long live the British royal family and Buckingham Palace, or something like that. Now, although this man's net worth is $600 million less than Buckingham Palace's worth, he is still a billionaire. So here's an interesting video on how Richard Branson, English billionaire, spends $4.4 billion. And there's more luxury videos to come, so consider subscribing, would ya? Thanks for watching.